They want to be the adult Groot.
Yeah, they do. Grown-up Groot, the Diesel.
Eagles, Packers, we are all rivals here. Thursday Night Football, 8 p.m. Eastern on NFL Network, on Amazon Prime Video, and on Fox. Let's bring in our guy, Tom Pelissero. He's coming to us from Minneapolis this morning. Let's switch to defense. Let's switch to a different division. Jalen Ramsey and the Jags. What's up?
Well, Jalen Ramsey's trade request with the Jaguars still stands, but in talking to other teams that have been keeping tabs on the situation, Kay, everybody says it's been really quiet in recent days in terms of trade talks. Now, we know that Ramsey called in sick on Sunday night. I am told that he actually was in the building yesterday, but did not participate in practice. Jaguars players are off today. We'll see whether or not Ramsey is on the field when preparations resume in earnest tomorrow for Sunday's game against the Broncos. In terms of the next moves here, that's really in the hands of the Jaguars front office. They have made very clear to other teams they will not move Ramsey unless they get an offer they can't refuse. In that initial round of calls, the price tag was 2 first-round draft picks, which is a very high price, especially when you consider that any team acquiring Ramsey also is looking at paying him a market-setting contract sooner than later worth upwards of $15 or $16 million a year. So at some point, does the price tag come down? The Jaguars try to get something done? Or do they wait it out here and trust that Jalen Ramsey is going to continue to show up and do his job on game day as he did last week against the Titans?
That's one to follow. Also, the Steelers' quarterback situation is one to follow, and not just for this season, but for the future. What's the latest on Ben Roethlisberger, his elbow, and his status as a Pittsburgh legend?
I think the legendary status probably stands, Peter, but in terms of this season, Ben Roethlisberger did have what the team called successful surgery yesterday in Los Angeles. The famed surgeon Neil ElAttrache performed that procedure. The plan now is for Roethlisberger to return to Pittsburgh, work with the Steelers medical staff, and they say they fully expect him to be ready for the 2020 season. Now, Roethlisberger has already made clear himself in a statement the day after the injury, he intends to honor the 2-year, $68 million contract extension that he signed back in April. He'll be 38 years old when the 2020 season begins and coming off of surgery on his throwing elbow. For now, the season's in the hands of young Mason Rudolph, who was up and down in his first NFL start last weekend against the 49ers. It really stacks up here as an elimination type of game Monday night in Pittsburgh as the Steelers host the equally 0-3 Cincinnati Bengals.
Yes, it's the Bengals and the Steelers. Mason Rudolph under center for that one. Should you pick him up in your fantasy league? I'm not sure yet. I think you're picking up Daniel Jones, of course. We'll get to that and more. Thanks for the updates on Jalen Ramsey and all around. Tom Pelissero back here in studio. What do you make of this Steelers situation?
It got me thinking, you know, with the 3 superstar quarterbacks that are down, Drew Brees, Ben Roethlisberger, and we talked about Cam Newton earlier in the show, is it time for us to consider the thought that maybe these guys are in the twilight of their career? Now, Drew Brees is a different type of animal. I'm pretty sure he can come back. He's a workout warrior. He's had injuries before, but he is older. Cam Newton has been falling apart, it seems like, for the last 5 years. I'm not sure what we're going to get out of him, even if he sits out a season. And then Big Ben, this is his throwing arm. And I know people say, well, baseball players have it, and he can come back. Big Ben has never been a workout monster. He's never been a guy that came into camp in extreme shape. Like, do we consider the thought, if these young quarterbacks play well, that we'll be turning the page on some legends?
Could be. Listen, I feel like these guys are having a blinking contest, and none of them want to retire. I thought it was interesting that Roethlisberger, when went out, was very strongly spoken about, like, I plan to honor this contract. I will be back. And this is the guy who we talk about, makes little comments about retiring. No, I think he will be back. I think he wants to get paid. I think he has unfinished business. It's interesting because Eli kind of plays into this, too. We're seeing maybe the turning of a page, but these guys are all such maniacs, and they don't want to go out like this. I think they have a lot more football left to play.
And yet, Andrew Luck retires, and we haven't said his name once. The show goes on, dude. That's how it is. I mean, Jacoby Brissett said, let's go, and we haven't said Andrew Luck's name since week 3 of the preseason when he retired. That's how the NFL works. We turn the page. We could love the legacy of the guy, but if Mason Rudolph tears it up, I saw Tom Brady replace the highest-paid quarterback in football, Drew Bledsoe, and no one said anything twice the next year.
You've seen this throughout your career. Do you think that guys like Ben Roethlisberger and Eli and even Drew Brees, they see the end that they want to have and actually think they're going to get it? Or how do you think that they envision that turning of events?
Yeah, I believe that that Tom Brady created a false narrative for quarterbacks.
Okay. So everyone thinks they can have what he doesn't even know he'll have.
That they can ride off into the sunset. Tom Brady had opportunities to win a Super Bowl and walk away. He just keeps coming back because he's so damn good. But, I do find it funny that Big Ben came out and emphatically said, you know what, I'm going to honor this deal when this is the same dude who just casually talks about retiring. But it's funny, when your career's threatened, when Father Time is literally tugging the jersey off of your skin, all of a sudden you want to tell everybody how much you love football. Ain't it funny?
He was like that when Mason Rudolph was drafted, right? He has some things to say about that. So we'll see how that handing of the baton goes down when it does happen. We didn't even mention Phillip Rivers. He's still crushing it out there.
And it's nobody.
What he looks like.
He is.
Okay, new gig in New York. You mentioned a young quarterback. It is Daniel Jones. He crushed it, like off the jump, and lost Saquon, and was still crushing it.
So, am I playing him or am I benching him?
You have to pick him up if he can run like that.
Of course. Ride the wave. He's so fun.
He had 17 rushing touchdowns in college at Duke. I feel like you need to pick him up.
You got 2 already.
And you guys are going to recreate what now?
Oh, 4th and 26 down there in the streets.
Eagles, Packers, McNabb to Mitchell.